Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for High Velocity Radio.
Welcome to the High Velocity Radio Show, where we celebrate top performers producing better results in less time. Stone Payton here with you this afternoon. You guys are in for a real treat. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast with Worth AI, Mr. Sal Rehmetullah. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm living the dream. So happy to be here.
Well, we're delighted to have you on the show. I got a ton of questions, Sal. I know we're not going to get to them all, but this whole idea of AI and its application for a variety of businesses and, candidly, our business at the Business RadioX network just fascinates me. But I think a good place to start would be if you could share with me and our listeners mission, purpose. What are you and your team over at Worth AI really out there trying to do for folks, man?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of it, I'm sure we'll get into my background here shortly, but we really want to just level the playing field for small, medium-sized businesses to have access to capital, access to loans. It's easy for a lot of consumers out there to really think about their personal credit score and know how to leverage that when they need their own credit card or they're buying a car. But when you think about that same concept, when it goes to growing your business, there's nothing out that there exists. There's no business credit score that exists. There's no standard way to be able to underwrite loans or get business credit cards or get an SBA loan approved. And so our goal is to standardize that, create equality for all, and bring way more data into the ecosystem so people can get a loan or a credit card in their businesses in minutes, not in months.
Well, your instincts are right on track. I do want to know about your backstory. How in the world did you land here doing this for these kind of folks?
No, it was a rainy day, September 2nd, 1989. No, I'm just kidding. I was born in the United States, and a big background for us, obviously, just being immigrant children in the U.S. And we were blessed to have a great education. I went to school. I worked for Deloitte, Morgan Stanley. I did a variety of things, and I ended up starting a business with my sister. So I started a payments company called Stax Payments, where we integrated and provided, credit cards, ACH for small to medium-sized businesses. And we grew that business from just the two of us to over 40 billion of payments, 100,000 small, medium-sized businesses. And we were the first folks to sell that business for over $1 billion. We were the first unicorn founders out of Central Florida, first brother-sister team out of Florida, first Muslim Americans to do it. And so it was a crazy ride, but just been in the entrepreneurship journey. And we, for some reason, were always around small and medium-sized businesses.
And you couldn't just hang it up and sit on the beach and drink cocktails. Now you're doing this. Tell us, what compelled you to start this new venture?
That's a great question. We get that. I always get two questions. They always ask me, like, why would you do this again? And then the second one's usually followed up with, why would you do this again with your sister? I'll answer them both for you. But, we were absolutely blessed to have built an amazing business. We had great partners, and we really wanted to provide tool sets for small, medium-sized businesses when it came to payments. When you think about what's really rapidly changed in the last 10 years, all of us can buy everything off our phone. We tap, we jump into cars, we, have payments through Ubers or Lyfts, and all sorts of things are sort of just dominated by payments. And we were sort of at the beginning of really making and enabling small and medium-sized businesses to have access to that technology. And so it was something that we felt compelled to do, and really excited to have delivered the results we did. And you're right. We went, we saw a couple beaches, we worked on our golf game. But I think that when you're an entrepreneur, you find yourself always wanting to solve problems. And I will say, at least I'll speak for myself, when I left Stax, there was this feeling of almost like mourning. Like if you lose a loved one, being and building that business for 10 years, having, 500 or so employees here in the United States and a few international, it just became a part of my identity. And not having that anymore felt kind of like a loss. It was like, how do I contribute to society? How do I add value back in this world. And it's a space that we really knew. And, to your point, we were really blessed to have had a great outcome. So personally, financially, everything was sort of checked off, but we really wanted to see how we can make a broader impact and leave a legacy behind. And, we had this crazy idea that was like, well, why is there no business credit score? And why has nobody ever, been able to solve this? And the more we unpacked it, it was just very complex. It was something that everyone struggled with, and it was very hard to do. And that's sort of where the magic happens for us. And so we all got into a room and kind of thought about it and said, well, let's be the ones to go figure this out. And so we're really excited to have the first, business credit score called the Word Score that brings in almost 1,100 data points for any SMB with, frankly, just a few clicks. And really excited to empower not just the enterprises to be able to use it for making decisions, but also for all the small businesses out there to be able to see your own credit score. Very similar, like how you would manage your own personal credit on a Credit Karma or things along those lines, but giving you visibility in how to manage your business, which frankly has seemed to not have always had the best of resources. And so we felt compelled to do it and crazy enough to get back on the saddle to go solve it.
Well, I got to tell you, you have my attention as, my business partner, his name is Lee Cantor. He and I own the Business RadioX network. And we've been fortunate. We've been blessed. We've made a comfortable living. We feel like we've made a dent in the universe by helping people leverage this platform to share their story and promote their work. But also, we now have, studios around the country, not nearly as many as we want, and they're able to do that. And if Lee and I really felt like we just absolutely cracked the code on scaling to the level we want to, and we wanted to go borrow money to get that going, based on my body of knowledge around it, I think he and I are still putting our own personal financial, we have to put our house up or whatever, our own personal scores, right? We don't know anything about this.
No, you nailed it. And your story right there is a story for almost every American, let alone business, frankly, in the world. And it comes with a couple of reasons, right? So when you think about like, Sal, why can I go on, and buy a car in 15 minutes and use my FICO credit score and my W-2 and get it? But if I try to go buy that exact same car using, let's use your example, the radio station and the P&L, they require 2 years of tax returns, 3 months of bank statements. They want me and my partner to both sign personal guarantees. And the reason is they just don't know how to underwrite and understand your business, your viability, and the growth. And it's simple as that. It's the fact that businesses are just so unique. If you grab Sally's shoe store versus Joe's pizza shop down the road, both of them have wildly different profit and loss statements. And one of them might have $10,000 of inventory just like the other, but Sally's shoe store might be rising if they're, collectible Louboutins versus $10,000 at the pizza store, in dough may go bad if the electricity runs out. And so how do you manage all of that differences when it comes to businesses? And that was sort of the challenge. But we sort of landed in this perfect world nowadays where you have all of this area of concepts of AI and large language models that can digest all of this information. And we had this crazy phenomenon of COVID that happened, in 2019, 2020, that actually pushed all the businesses to go digital. And so even if you think about your radio station, you probably adopted a lot of the tool sets from online banking to ACH and payroll to paying all your bills through auto pay. So you actually started to contribute a lot more information into the ecosystem on a digital world that now we've been able to harness, but nobody's ever consolidated it together. And so what we did is we said, well, can we give you an entire viewpoint and a holistic view of your business, and now allow the banks and, or as you mentioned, opening new studios to be able to see that history rather than just having a personal guarantee of your personal credit score or your net worth attached to all the work that you put into the business to leverage it for growth.
Man, I love it. Okay, so let me get clear about who is the customer. Maybe the answer is both. Is it me and Lee, or is it the people who should be willing to loan us some money, or both?
You're spot on. So where we started, like anything else, to make change at this level, you need the large enterprises to adopt the fundamentals, right? So the first place we started off is We went to the large banks. We went to the Department of Defense and the small business associations. We went to the large enterprises that provide, frankly, risk and underwriting, within these organizations. And what you learn from them is, like anything else, all of us have probably purchased a home or gone through some sort of credit risk underwriting. They're laborious. They're paper driven. There's so many documentations, and it's sort of a pain for both parties. And so the first thing we said to them was, well, what if we can help you bring all of this information together by just a few clicks, right? And that is the first place we started with the larger these enterprises. And as we evolved and learned with them, we then started to show them our WORT score. We started to show them that they don't need to grab all of these documents. What they really need is just to give authorization to a few of these accounts, and we can really predict out the future of these businesses for them. And that's sort of where we landed first. And we've had amazing adoption in the large enterprises. We're in, a variety of large banks that you would know names of. We're in a lot of large credit card providers and loan originators. And after we did that, the first aha moment was, well, now we have all this information on the SMB. We understand why people are approving. We also understand why people are denying. And so why wouldn't we give people like yourself that information to help you grow your business? And if you do want to open more studios, well, what does that actually have to look like for you? And we sort of followed the model, if you're familiar with like Credit Karma or managing your own, individual credit. They provide you a bunch of solution sets to say, hey, did you know your credit got hurt because you didn't pay this bill? Did you know that because you have so much money on this credit card that's costing you so much, you're getting dinged? Well, if we have that same information on your business, let's expose that to you. And so that's our WORT score platform. That works directly for you and your partner. And that comes out in early Q1 this year to really enable you to manage your own business credit.
I'm excited. I tell you what, gang, if you want to meet some really smart people and get a leg up on whatever you're trying to accomplish, get yourself a radio show, man. This is fantastic. So now that you've been at this new venture for a little while, what are you finding the most rewarding? What's the most fun about it for you these days, man?
I think it's just rebuilding again. I think you get to see real impact. And to your point is just hearing your story, right? Like the reality is it's so true for so many Americans, so many folks out there in the world that are all coming across a variety of these challenges. And you sort of get everybody just nodding their head of like, yes, I've experienced that. And being at that forefront of actually making a material impact in that world. And, you and I could probably all know that the statistics of what loan approvals probably look like for, specific folks of color or women, et cetera, and other, youthful businesses, being able to make an impact at that level. And I see the world with rose-colored glasses, and I believe the banks and associations really want to do the same. But it's not always easy because that data hasn't existed and immaturity of their models are there. And so for us to be able to be at that forefront of really paving the way to think about the future in this style of business, I think is just something that's just very fun to be in a space that's sort of uncharted and having to sort of set the new guidelines in new areas. And I think that's probably the most fun part about it.
I know the answer to this has to be yes, but I'm going to ask anyway because I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy where you take it. But I am interested to know, to what degree have you had the benefit of one or more mentors to help you navigate some of this, crazy new terrain?
You nailed it. I think my dad, he passed away a few years back, and he used to always tell us, me and my sister, as I said, we worked together. He always said it to us: is if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And providing that statement, Sunir and I have been huge proponents of surrounding ourselves with really, really smart people. And so when you think about some of the words that I said, and I might have said them quickly, but being able to walk into the Department of Defense and the Pentagon to talk about the Small Business Association, how to change that, to partnering with Equifax, which is the largest data holder across private citizens and business citizens, to have a strategic partnership with us with Worth, doesn't just happen because we walked in the door and, had a really, really cool product, right? We want to believe that's the case, but you have to have the right mentors and the right folks. And we've been blessed with, obviously, our history So I've met so many different pioneers along the way that have sort of opened that door for us. And so, we've worked with a lot of the old executives that we knew. We've forged great partnerships with folks at Equifax, et cetera, that have all really opened the right doors for us, share in the mission and vision that we're trying to accomplish. And so it's definitely, I think the old age saying is that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And so that's sort of the mission we're on here.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit, if you could, about getting the product properly aligned with the market, and this is very personal to us because we're wanting to work through some larger systems. Like, we're of the opinion, and it's purely hypothesis. Here's Stone getting some free consulting again. But it's our opinion that there are professional services businesses and groups of them, like even franchisors, that have like a lot of, let's say, coaches or business brokers that might very well be served by having their own Business RadioX studio in their community to serve their community at large and help them do all the things that our platform does. But, Lee and I have not been either of those things. Talk about, I guess that's the right term, right? Like product market fit alignment. Speak to that a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, look, that's probably one of the hardest things that as an entrepreneur, you have to go through, right? So all of us have high conviction. We're slightly crazy, willing to take on sort of the leaps of faith. But what you do learn is when you get out into market is that your thesis generally is correct, but there are a lot of things that you thought would be there that aren't. And that's been true from, the day of every single startup I've worked with to every single thing that we've done, and to the large businesses, as I mentioned, billion-dollar businesses we have built. We have pivoted on a consistent basis, right? And so if there was, a screensaver I'd put on there, it's that famous Friends episode where I think Ross is, yelling pivot, pivot, pivot. That's sort of the way that you see every single day. And so even when we came with the Word Score, our first intent was to be able to just have a business credit score. We thought, it makes so much sense. Well, when you got into those enterprises, well, they have 15 data scientists and they've spent millions and millions of dollars on this. So the first question is like, well, why is your score better than mine? Or why is it that I have all this information and you think you can do a better job? And so all of a sudden you have to start to be like, oh, well, I can't just prove it to them by saying I'm better. I have to think about, well, what's the way I'm going to describe it? What's my explainability? And so you start to like break it down. And then the more you unpack, you start to learn their biggest challenge. And for us with Worth, as much as we wanted to start with the score, what we really realized is the reason people struggle with data science and scoring was capturing information from small to medium-sized businesses. Like your business, the way that you use QuickBooks or ADP or whatever systems you use are wildly different than probably another radio station, to let alone a different small to medium-sized business. And so the first thing we had to think about with them was, well, can we help them on this onboarding journey of collecting information from folks like you and helping them onboard them quickly and easier, which would then lead to a score. And yes, the score is a great outcome and that's where they want to be, but we had to sort of tweak the way we went to market. We had to meet them where the conversations are had. And the biggest other thing that we learned was when you're an innovator and you try to drive this, people, challenge status quo and challenge why it's important now. And so a lot of times you have to meet them with what they're used to buying. And so for us, we were like, okay, yes, we're doing scoring. Yes, we're doing this, but you also still have to do risk and compliance. You still have to bring all these things as part of a business. Let us sell to those departments that are already used to buying those solution sets. Let's pivot to have conversations with them. And that's what I would tell you and any other person is like product market fit is just an iterating approach where you're probably in the ballpark, but how do you get there? And so I think for you, you're spot on. I would definitely think that it's a great concept, but maybe you do it as an incubator. Maybe you do it inside of startup communities. Maybe you find that your niche is inside of WeWorks or Industrious where there's a ton of traffic flow. And I'm not saying any one of those are right, but I think that that's going to be your constant tweak is going to say, hey, how can we do this quickly, pivot and learn? And I think that's what really drives great entrepreneurs.
So now, given where you are in your timeline, how's the whole sales and marketing thing? Is it just getting the word out about it, or do you have people that are out there selling to these two different constituencies? Yeah, how are you going to sell it?
Yeah. So we have a team of over 50 people now.
Oh wow.
And we're focused on, as I mentioned, the enterprise side primarily right now. Our WorthScore.com, which you can join the wait list to be able to get your own Worth Score for your business, goes live in February of early next year, and that will be fully digital, fully online. And people can go to the website and being able to obtain that. And for us, that's going to be done a lot of marketing, a lot of specific areas of being able to advertise, frankly, your own business health. And we really believe in the mission of being able to see that. And we're going to have very, very low cost barrier to entry because we really believe that the power of the solution comes by providing that information to those SMBs. And so our goal right now is to, work with the large enterprises that are looking to solve this problem. And, we're blocking and tackling every single day. And, so if there are banks or, credit card companies or people that are in fintech or payments that are out here listening that are looking to improve their risk and underwriting, give us a call. But that's, we're tackling one at a time right now.
Well, Sal, I'm excited for you, but quite candidly, I am excited for us, me and Lee and our Business RadioX team. This is fantastic. So, before we wrap, I wonder if we could leave our listeners with a pro tip or two. And I guess I'm really talking to those new entrepreneurs or those entrepreneurs that, they're not just opening another ice cream shop. They've got a big idea or vision. Maybe you can share some lessons learned or maybe a do or a don't or something they should be reading or thinking about. Let's just leave them a pro tip or two.
Yeah. Look, I think, you mentioned it, whether you meant to or not over the course of the call, is you brought up your partner multiple times. You automatically aligned with, he's dealt with some of the financials. You said, I think we signed our personal guarantee. And what I gather from all that is that you guys have roles and responsibilities and places where each of you contribute. And so as a entrepreneur that's building a new business, I think it's important to understand where you're good and understand where you could use help. And being able to find partners that can help bridge those gaps for you, right? And so I do work with my sister every day, and Sunira is a marketing genius, great at being able to have creativity and product vision. I'm a sales and execution guy, and our third partner knows how to build technology. And so can all three of us help each other? Can all three of us do parts of our job? Of course we can. But I think the biggest thing I've learned across this journey is knowing your strengths and building a really good team around you and trusting them to do their parts of the job. I think you can do so much more. And so for any entrepreneur that's out there, finding the right partners that you can trust and really, really build and share a similar vision, I think is something that's very, very impactful for you to make it.
Yeah. So I've already written down here in my notes, worthscore.com. I am going to go there for sure, probably right after this conversation. But let's leave our listeners with whatever coordinates are appropriate to continue to tap into your work, follow what you're doing, whether it's a website, LinkedIn, whatever. But let's make sure that we can follow what's going on here.
Yeah, no. So I'm once again, Sal Rehmetullah. Feel free to reach out to me. Always willing to help new entrepreneurs, mentor in that space. And so you can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. My handle is just Sal Rehmetullah. And then I mentioned worthscore.com. Sign up for the wait list if you're a business owner. We'd love to have you in our early stages and provide you with solution sets and hopefully free solution sets to really help you grow your business and be really successful on your own journey.
Sal, it has been an absolute delight having you on the show this afternoon. Thank you for your insight, your perspective, your enthusiasm, and for what you're creating here, man. I think I mentioned the phrase earlier, put a dent in the universe. Man, if anybody's doing that, you're doing it. The work you're doing is so important, and we sure appreciate you, man.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and I share the same sentiment. It's great to be able to tell a story, and fan of the show and all the other entrepreneurs and folks that have been on prior.
Well, it's absolutely my pleasure. All right, until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Sal Rehmetullah with Worth AI, and everyone here at the Business Radio X family saying we'll see you in the fast lane.